Hey everyone! Today we're excited to just have a nice, beautiful day in the garden. The weather is cooling down and I'd say it's about 60 degrees here in Charlotte.
Yeah.
We woke up this morning, it was like 55, which is chilly for us. And I don't know, something about it, I've just been craving like a fall cleanup day where we just sort of mosey around the garden, do different projects. We've still got plenty of stuff that we can plant, which is nice. We have perennials that need to be cut back and annuals that are browning and are ready to be pulled so that we can go back in and do our fall planting.
Yep.
And I don't know, I've just been craving a day like that where we sort of mosey around the garden and get different projects done. We have conifers that still need planted, which is so fun because we can decide where those are going to go, clean up around the areas where they'll be and get them in the ground. And then the wisteria, I know we've finally figured out where we're going to put that today.
We have a great spot for the wisteria. I think it's going to be amazing. I mean, it's going to take a few years for it to get to where we want to, but we'll talk about all that when we get to planting that.
Yeah, I think we should just get started.
Okay, so we're going to start by planting Skylands right behind us. Okay, so right where I'm standing, there used to be a Vanderwolf pine here, and it was about this tall, and unfortunately it kicked the bucket this season. And so that's something to consider when you're growing conifers. And talking to people in the industry, we've heard, just estimate about 15 to 20% of failure, because conifers have, a mind of their own. Sometimes they might like it, sometimes they might not like your garden. So we're going to be planting something new here. So right here is where Skylands is going to go. So if you can imagine where I am, 5 more of me, that's about how tall Skylands will be in 10 years or so. And there are some dahlias around me that were planted many, many years ago in this garden that we're going to be digging up, possibly transplanting to another spot. Right in front of me, there is a Grand Cascade butterfly bush that's got still some purple on it, but I think that will be really, really nice. You guys know we love purple and chartreuse together in the garden, and the Skylands is gonna give us that right here. And then we've got Bonnie over to my left, which I don't think you can see on camera, but it's got a nice icy blue color. So I think all of those colors together will be a really beautiful contrast for this spot. And really, we can just kind of let Skylands grow to its full potential. Maybe eventually it'll touch the shed, but I think we've got a long time before we get there. So we're gonna get the hole ready.
Okay, so I came over here with the drill, and I think it's smartest to bring the Skylands over here. Since it's a little bit bigger, I think we just run the risk, you don't know this, but right above me there are some power lines, and so we want to get out enough so that if this gets taller, it clears those power lines and we're not going to have to risk sort of like trimming at it. And it's also wide already, and so I don't want to risk getting too close to the stuff that's already here, because if you do that, a lot of the foliage at the bottom, if it's not getting sufficient light and airflow, it might get a little crispy. So I think we're gonna bring it over here, set it in place, and make sure we like it. Through here, trying to step on the foxgloves. All right, right there. Okay, so we walked around from all angles after we sat it down, and it doesn't usually happen like this, that the first place we sit it is the right spot. But we really love that if you're looking from that way towards this way, which there are windows on the back of our house that we look out of, that we can see this perfect view. And this lines up a little to the left of the shed, so you can still sort of see the color and the beauty of it. It's not fading into the background. And then from every single angle around the garden, it looks beautiful. So I think we're gonna get this in the ground right here.
right, we got Skylands all in its place, and I love the layering. With the totem pole grasses, we've got the weeping Alaskan cedar, we've got Bonnie blue spruce, and then we've got Skylands, and then there's also some hot pink spirea in here. There's a purple butterfly bush. The layering is just gonna be so nice in the spring when everything is in bloom. And then of course during the winter, we get to look at Skylands, which is gonna be just amazing.
Yeah, honestly, standing up here and planting it and looking back through the peninsula is so nice this time of year. I honestly want you to see this. It's just all coming together so nice. Gardening is so fun because you just get to realize like all the beauty.
And right now, Skylands looks a little bit like airy, but I think over time it will fill in and get thicker, and so it will really be a nice impact out here in the peninsula.
Yeah.
So I think now we can move on. Okay, so right here at the front of the peninsula is probably the spot that we've shown off the most this year in our garden. We've got the Rediculus coleus backed by the Supertunia mini vistas. There is some yarrow here, and then we've got a big drift of Nepeta behind us. But what you can't really see is that in here there is also a lemon squeeze grass that has just been kind of blocked by the coleus all year. And then there's also a little ginkgo on standard. And so we're gonna pull the coleus, we're gonna pull all of the annuals here, and then right in this little hole right here, we're gonna pop the moonstone blue spruce.
Okay, so we got these crazy coleus out of here, and you could tell they were sort of like putting off little runners everywhere, and they just really took over, which honestly for most of the season they were like the star of this show. So we're not mad about it, but what that kind of revealed when we moved it is that this beautiful chartreuse grass that we had planted brand new, it's gotten a little large, and it's just going to continue to get larger, and it's covering up our beautiful American ginkgo. And this ginkgo is never going to get tall. It's a ornamental ginkgo that is just meant to sort of be a specimen tree. And so I do want to make sure that it has its moment. And we've also noticed that our yarrow are planted maybe too close to the edge, and they're also sort of not getting the moment that they deserve either. And we want to put moonstone right down in the front so that it gets really like beautiful, and it's also a specimen, so a lot of specimens don't equal all right. So we're going to move some things around, and that way all of our layers are perfect. Okay, so Moonstone is in its place. It took a little bit of moving and sort of figuring out how this space should work. So the yarrow, we only have 4 of, and we typically plant in 3s or 5s. And so that's the reason that was a little more difficult. What we decided to do was really just connect one side to the other with the yarrow, and that way Moonstone sort of caps that. You can also see that the ginkgo and our beautiful grass here, this is all sort of a trio of specimen plants, and I think it's really pretty. The Moonstone is such a nice color along with all of this. In a few weeks, this ginkgo is gonna be bright, bright yellow, and I cannot wait to see this in its place against that gorgeous color. So now we're gonna move on to the next one, which is Frankie Boy.
All right, so I am here with Frankie Boy, and this is another one that has been kind of a conundrum about where to put it. And so we've kind of sat this a few different places around the garden, and I think we have settled on this is going to be a really good spot for it. To my left is a gingerwine 9-bark that we planted recently. So this will have some really beautiful red foliage that will contrast nicely. And then to my right, we've got an Arctic fire dogwood, which will have some really nice red twigs during the winter. And so I think this will be a really nice bright pop right here. Now, if we go according to plan, down in front here, we will be pulling all of these primroses eventually and pop in some bluebeard, which is how Brian saw this paired originally and he fell in love with. And so I think the purple and the green is gonna harken back to our favorite color combo in the garden and make this a really nice focal point. We're also going to be pulling the annuals here. We've got some Limetime Coleus and some Supertunia Tiara Blue that are, they are still doing it, but I think we're just ready to kind of refresh the garden a little bit with some fall annuals. And there's also a rose behind this that you can't even see anymore. So with that, we're gonna go ahead and get started. All right, so we got Frankie Boy in the ground. There is a pretty large root from an old tree in front of it, so we had to pull it back just a little bit. So we are very close here to both the 9-bark and the dogwood, but I think over time it will be okay. And Frankie Boy is actually one of the conifers that you can trim up a little bit to keep it shapely. So if we notice that these plants are all starting to grow into each other and it's looking a little too messy, we can trim up Frankie Boy and we'll be fine. The other thing I wanted to point out is that the ground here is really, really dry. And we are also in a period of a long drought here in North Carolina. But even still, we know that this up here stays very dry. And Frankie Boy, while it is a conifer, it is also an arborvitae, and arborvitaes like moist soil. They need it to be well draining, but they like it moist. So I'm actually going to put two 2 gallon per hour emitters on Frankie Boy so that we can make sure that he is staying wet. I don't think we'll have any issues up here with drainage, but we'll show you how I'm gonna do this here. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I've got these little 1/4 inch barbs here, and I'm just going to tap into my existing drip line here. Give it a little wiggle, it usually pops. There we go. I'm gonna do one over here. There we go. And now I'm gonna grab some 1/4 inch tubing and run tubing straight over to the conifer. Just gonna slide this onto this little barb here. And since it's a little cold today, it is tight. And I'm gonna see how far over to this little guy we need. I'm gonna say right about here and cut. Then I'm gonna do the same thing on this other side. See how far we need to go. Right here. And now I can take my 2 gallon per hour emitter, put this on the end of the 1/4 inch, and now I can direct the water to go wherever I want. So I'm gonna do one on this side, and one on the other side. Okay, so now that we've got the drip set up, what I'm also going to do over the next few days is I'm gonna come out here and stick my finger in the soil just to make sure that we are not too wet, but also that we're not too dry. The last thing you wanna do is get your conifers waterlogged, but you also don't wanna leave them super dry. So, especially if they are arborvitaes, the things that like moist soil. So we're gonna keep checking on Frankie Boy, but I think now we can move on to our next planting.
Okay, so this is Mikawa Yatsubutsu Japanese maple, and this one's only gonna get about 6 feet high and 4 feet wide. We thought this was the perfect spot because where you guys are looking back this way is the corner of our garden, but behind you is also a lot of windows on the back of our house that we can sort of see this area. This is gonna be chartreuse green and then fire engine red in a few weeks during the fall. And I honestly think it's the perfect spot for it. We needed some sort of a cap in front of the pine tree. And I think that this will really do that. So when this gets about 6 feet high, we'll take the canopy of it up as well. And we'll have a nice little sort of woodlands shade garden underneath, which I think is great. Before we get planting this Japanese maple, I realized that there's a lot of things here that need cut back. So you can see that we have this gooseneck loosestrife that my mom gave me years ago and that we had transplanted in here. Honestly, we would probably put like, I don't know, 6 or 8 stems of it in the ground. This stuff spreads like crazy, but I like that because this is this sort of like woodlands area like I was talking about, and that's really nice. But this year it really laid over all of the other stuff here because we had a few really bad storms and this was all sort of really tall. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this back and then we'll get planting. We also have some columbine and things like that behind me that will be really pretty in the early spring that I'll probably leave, and that way we sort of just let it all sort of naturalize. Yeah, so I'm gonna clean this up and then we'll get planting the Japanese maple.
All right, right here by the entryway gate is where we're going to be planting the Grand Diva Jessie wisteria. Now, we've got a few things here already. So we've got a Claire Austin, David Austin climbing rose that we're going to be digging up and taking out front to the picket fence garden. There's obviously a grill here that we have a plan for getting this out of the way. And then this little box behind me is actually our water return for our irrigation system. So a little bit of an eyesore that we still have to figure out how to cover, but the wisteria is going to be a big, big impact right here, I think. We had this epiphany this morning trying to think of where we could put it. You know, do we want to get an obelisk? Do we want to get a new trellis? And then we thought, what if we plant it here by the entryway gate? And then over the next few years, we train it up along the wall and then up over the arch above the gate. I think that is going to be just an amazing impact coming into our garden. I mean, just imagine in the spring, these like purple chandeliers hanging down above the gate. It's going to be amazing. It's going to take us a few years before we can get there, but I'm super excited about it. So we're going to start by digging out the rows, and we'll set that aside to go up front, and then we'll get the wisteria in the ground.
Okay, so it's obviously tight quarters in here right now. Like Tyler said, we have a plan to get this grill out of here. I'll probably put some really beautiful decorative table in here. And then the little box that is covering the irrigation line back up, I'm gonna try to figure out some way to handle that as well, so it's pretty and not just a box sitting there. But this Grand Diva wisteria is looking so pretty, and honestly, it's very lush. The thing about the rose was, I don't think it was getting quite enough full sun right here at the bottom. The wisteria is really gonna reach up for the sun and I think be perfect. So this will grow up. We'll eventually give it some wire or something to grow across the top of the wall. Hopefully it grows over the gate just like we were saying, but I think we can move on.
All right, folks, we're gonna call it a day here. We got a lot of stuff done in the garden today. We pulled a bunch of coleus, we moved some plants, we got a bunch of conifers planted and some Japanese maples, wisteria.
Yep.
I mean, I'm excited for the spring now.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about it, but removing those coleus and getting things just moved around perfectly, adding in some additional conifers, this area is really, really looking like it is ready for winter.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to say.
And the fall cleanup will continue over the next few months as all of the leaves start to fall and we get our first freeze and such, but I think we're at a good spot today. I didn't expect this, but I think moonstone is actually my favorite conifer that we planted today.
That's so interesting. We planted so many.
I mean, Skylands is obviously amazing and that's gonna be really cool, but having moonstone right here at the front is just such a nice blue, icy pop.
Yeah.
And I think when everything is in bloom in the spring, you're really gonna see it and notice it a lot.
Yep, I love it. All right, I think that's it. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel so you can see us plant all through the winter.
Until next time, from our garden to yours, we'll see you soon.
Bye, guys.